Hello, I'm Zach Miller.
And I'm Cheryl Tan, and this is Hampton Roads Business Weekly, an in-depth look at our local business community. Something we hope to do with this show is to provide entrepreneurs the tools and resources to help their business thrive.
I recently spent a time with such a resource, the Hampton University Small Business Incubator. I talked with Executive Director J.R. Locke about giving new business owners a guiding hand. So JR, you've been the director of the incubator for 5 years now.
Yes.
What did it look like then, and what does it look like today?
Well, that's an interesting question, Zach, because actually it looks pretty much the same physically. Programmatically, we have made quite a few changes because in the past, it hadn't been a whole lot going on with the incubator in terms of its programs, but we've added a real holistic program concept to offering the business owners, training through the Lunch and Learn workshops. We have an event once a month called Power Hour,
Great.
Where we bring all the client companies in, and they talk about some of the challenges they had as well as successes that they're having during the previous month.
When people go to you, what kind of resources are they looking for?
Well, most of the time when they come to the incubator, they're looking for money.
Sure.
Which we don't have.
There you go.
But I do try to guide them in the direction of a way they can seek funding, maybe checking with the city to see what programs are available, with the Virginia Small Business Department of Financing,
right.
And even checking with local banks to see what type of programs that they have available for businesses.
So you guys created kind of a platform for them to have the resources available. You don't write the checks, but you introduce them to people that might give them the checks
That's correct.
And whatnot. What other resources, not financial or and not the space, can people expect to come to find at the space?
Well, one of the most important resources, I think, is them coming to the space to find guidance and having that mentorship
Yep.
and management consulting on how to develop and grow their business. Because many businesses, as you know, those business owners, many of them are very passionate about starting the businesses, but unfortunately there is a commonality among many of them is that they don't really know how to run a business.
Right.
They don't know the operational aspects of running a business. So at the incubator, we try to teach those skills so that they can have a game plan to stay in business for a longer period of time.
What are maybe your 3 favorite educational resources that you guys give to them, like you were just talking about?
Well, the first one on the list is our Lunch and Learn workshops, because we try to provide those periodically where we bring subject matter experts into the incubator to talk about various topics such as marketing, business plan development. We actually have one which is a veterans workshop where we're trying to really attract the veterans who are transitioning from the military to civilian life, but they want to look at possibly opening their own business.
Sure. How do you do that transition? So a lot of our veterans are getting out maybe 20 years, and then so they were in high school, now they met 20 years, now they have to go and find the new business world. How do you help them transition there so that they can be successful here at home?
Well, one of the first things that I like to do is sit down and talk with each prospective business owner and really ask them why are they going into business.
Sure.
Because some people, I think you're aware of this, that they want to get into business because they think that they can set their own hours and get off at 3 o'clock in the afternoon every day, go play golf or what have you.
They can. Their business might not be successful,
That's
right?
very true. And so I want to make sure that the people that are going into business understand that it's a lot different from going to a 9-to-5 job.
Sure.
Because working a 9-to-5 job, in most of the cases, that's what it is.
Right.
But as you know, when you own your own business, it can be 24/7.
Right, it's a 9 to 5 and then a 5 to 9.
Exactly.
So it's a 24/7. So one last question, for those people out here that might be wanting to start a business, what's the one thing that you would tell them to do before they start?
The one thing I would do is tell them to really do a self-assessment, to do some research to see what makes successful people successful, and look at those characteristics and then do a self-inventory to see whether or not they have those qualities. Because if they research someone and that person says, well, I'm a go-getter, I get up at 5 o'clock every morning, but that person is accustomed to getting up at 10 o'clock every morning. They need to understand that it's not any different for them.
Gotcha.
That they need to examine those characteristics and really identify with themselves to be able to adopt those same successful practices that have made those companies successful.
Great.
We are back with more Hampton Roads Business Weekly. Running a business, being an entrepreneur, it can be pretty stressful.
And it can equally be stressful for your family and friends. I sat down with Dr. Gregory Stone, a professor at Regent University School of Business and Leadership, about how you and your family can overcome the entrepreneurial terrors. So you have a family, and they don't necessarily understand what it is being an entrepreneur. How do you manage those terrors, the entrepreneurial terrors of communicating with your family?
One of the best scenarios I saw for the problem that is created was a young man who was dating a young lady. He had a small business, and invariably the small business end of day spilled over and into their date time, into their dinner time. And she finally approached him and said, look, I can't compete with the, and she used a 5-letter word to describe the business. She goes, I don't know how to compete against a business. You know, I love you, I want to go out to dinner with you, I want to develop this relationship, but there's this other thing. It's almost like a person, and she referred to it as if it were a person, is in the way, and she broke off the dating relationship with him because he was not willing to give up and sacrifice that the point his business was at was in the beginning, within the first 6 months of his business, because it was at that critical point where it needed to grow. So it's important that you realize the business is important, but your time away from it is as therapeutic as your time in it.
Very valuable time away.
And you need those other people around you, and you need to not alienate them. We've talked previously about not venting when you come through the door at the end of a hard day where maybe things didn't go according to your plan. They went, but not according to your plan. So you come through and you just blow off and you spout, and that sets a real nice tone for wife, spouse, kids, family, significant other, and you want to avoid doing those kind of things. Talk about the positive things that happened, talk about the good things that happened, or at the very least, don't talk about the negative things that happened. Your family is going to be supportive. Your family may not understand. Pull them in, let them see what you're dealing with at the business. Take them in with you and let them see what kind of things that you're doing.
So you actually bring them through the doors and do that? I've often said, and I believe this, is that your first investor should be your significant other, so that they've, and not necessarily financially, but the commitment wise is they believe in you, so that you can then go and do those things that you want. And so being able to communicate with them and have them be a part of the ride is very important.
Absolutely. There is that commitment that you need to have from them so they can stand behind you through those good sales times, through those not so good sales time. And again, remember that roller coaster. Sales tend to be that. They may be seasonal, they may be something else, but you need them to be there and supportive of you during all those times. And if they understand what you're doing and how you're trying to do it, I've also seen where that got a spouse or a significant other person involved, and they became a part of the business and they became committed to it. And that can also develop a lot of interest and give you a partner in the business that you wouldn't have had otherwise.
How much of the business do you tell your significant other? Do you tell them, here is what sales were today, this is what we did revenue for the year? Do you just keep it really high level? Like, how deep do you go in when having these conversations?
I would share everything you can share with them, but the timing is important, you know, and you don't eliminate other parts of the relationship to substitute these small business entrepreneurial parts. It's add-on, it's additional. You still keep the other conversations. What did we do today? How was your day at work? What happened here? Did you have fun at your social event? Did you see the movie with your friends today? How was the movie? Did you enjoy it? And then you can get in and talk about some of the entrepreneurial things, the small business things, and as a part of that conversation, but don't eliminate the other relationship components and elements. Pull the business elements into those to be a part of those conversations.
Make it all in one.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
It's time now for our Entrepreneur of the Week. Here we highlight local business owners to learn about the problems they have faced and the advice they have for other entrepreneurs. This week, our Entrepreneur of the Week is Duane Thompson of Sabrosa Foods. Find out how he went from making salsa in his dorm room to selling his products all over the world, and the importance of taking advantage of the opportunities that come your way.
And as I always teach, and once that need is there and it identifies itself, you have to be prepared to service that need. And we were prepared.
Duane, 20 years ago, you were a college football player, and I know after one bad football game, you started an idea that led to some great success, and now in 2015, a multi-million-dollar company. How'd that happen?
Wow. It was one day after a football game. Went to Virginia State University, and my grandmother, who lived in Newport News, Virginia, used to have a small garden, and she would grow produce and bring the produce up every weekend during the game. But after this one particular game, we happened to lose. The coach kept us pretty long from what I can remember. And when I finally got out and got back to my dorm room, I get there and about 10 to 15 guys are in my room, and everybody has a plate of something that my grandmother brought. And I was highly upset. that's putting it mildly. And I ended up putting people out my room. And what was left was, I remember it was some vegetables. There was a bag of old stale chips. And I took the vegetables that was in there, mixed it up, had an illegal hot plate that was in the room. And I made my first salsa. And that was the beginning of what we started making years later.
Your story is such a great one because you started it to serve a need, to solve a problem, and because you were angry.
Correct.
But then you took it and you worked a day job and then worked to grow your company and then grew it. Talk to us about that evolution. How'd that happen?
I felt that there was a market that we could appeal to put this product in. And that's what I did. I actually started going after, I want to say it was a test market more so than really stores. I was going to farmers markets and trying this product and saw people were really liking it. So I felt the next progression of the company was to now take this proven product and place it into an actual market that I identified.
Gotcha. And so I know now that your company is salsa, but then something else. And that something else has grown it to just a huge level.
Yep.
So talk about that.
Well, what we found is about 3 years ago, we entered the federal government arena. We got into about 60 commissaries around the country. Well, not too long after, the federal government said, Sabrosa Foods is set up as a food company, but you also have the capabilities of providing a service for us at our dining hall facilities. So we one day I came to my office and there is a document on my desk that says, hey, you've been identified as this company that have these credentials that could do this service related job. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute, we don't do this. So I talked to a couple of my mentors and I decided that we were going to go out and try this opportunity. And we did. And, here it is. 4 years later, we've been in the federal government marketplace now for 3 of those years.
So you started out putting product in stores, and then the government comes to you and says, wait a minute, you know how to put product in stores. You can also help service the kitchens and the food service areas in the military.
Correct. Yeah, who would have think?
And I know that you were not prepared in the beginning, but you became prepared.
Yes.
You learned very quickly.
Absolutely. Again, as I always teach, and once that need is there and it identifies itself, you have to be prepared to service that need. And we were prepared.
Anything else you'd like to add? Any advice for aspiring entrepreneurs, whether they're product-based or service-based or whatever it is, they're just entrepreneurs wanting to serve?
Well, I think, I will always start off saying, if you have a passion for something and you're currently doing it, you're doing it maybe as a hobby or you may even have a small business. I would probably say continue to go after it and continue to do it. But there may be it depends on how big you want to get. But there may be a grander scale at which you can do it on. So, we're coming out of a book next year too. So in January of next year. So hopefully we can address a lot of that in our book as we come out.
About going bigger.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, Duane Thompson, thank you very much, and congratulations on being our Entrepreneur of the Week.
Thank you very much.
Last week, I introduced you to London Bridge Trading Company, a Virginia Beach-based company that has spent the last 3 decades making military and tactical gear. This week, we're going back to LBT, specifically its 72,000 square foot facility. Find out how the company has managed such a large workforce, especially when sequestration hit and times got a little tough. Let's talk now with Vice President of Operations, Ken Beasley. Hey there, Ken.
Hey, Cheryl. Good to see you.
Good to see you. And you've actually been here for 13 years. What a difference.
Big difference. I started out in a very small facility. The team did over on Virginia Beach Boulevard. We had 3 expansions there. We continued to grow. 911 helped us out in growing our business. We moved into this facility in 2005, October 2005. Went from 40 sewing machine operators to currently about 80 sewing machine operators. We opened a sister plant in El Paso, Texas. They currently have about 110 employees, sewers, about 160 employees. So we've seen us grow. We've had a couple of downtimes in those 13 years. Unfortunately, Uncle Sam doesn't buy as much every year, year after year, so we've had to face those challenges as well. Government sequestration as well put a damper on us in the last 14, 16 months, so we've had to learn to adjust and tighten the belt.
So how do you manage that, the feast and the famine, all in one year?
Well, even when I interviewed here, I was told that it was about the employee experience and about the quality of the backpack and about the quality of the nylon and about who our customer is, and that's our customer is our fine American military. So with that being said, my boss, one thing that really impressed me right out of the gate was overtime wasn't a dirty word. If the government needs it, if Uncle Sam needs it, if our young women and men in the military need a product, we stay and work and we get it done. It's not a bottom line driven company. It's a customer who's using our gear driven company, and that's been the culture to a T over the years. With that said, we've had some tough times. Last year, I'll never forget this day. I had to bring everybody out to the floor February of 2014 and tell everybody we really didn't want to have a mass layoff. Rather than lay off 40% of our staff, we were going to go to an abbreviated work week. It was going to be hard on some folks for a while, but we wanted to keep their benefits rolling. We wanted to keep them employed because we knew things were going to come back real soon. It wasn't a dry eye in the house, but at the end of that meeting, everybody rose to their feet and applauded. These are people that were told that their hours were getting cut back almost 60%.
Wow.
But they knew the vision and the long term of the company. It wasn't about short term. It was about keeping the business going and the culture going and the LBT lion keeping it roaring. And I'm happy to say a few months after that, we went back to a 32-hour work week. Shortly after that, we went back to a 40-hour work week. And I'm extremely happy that today we're working a 52-hour work week. Our employees love that. We don't mind paying the overtime because we're delivering a lot of fine gear to the American men and women of our military.
I imagine that was a really difficult conversation to have, but the fact that they all came together after hearing that bad news.
Well, we did not lose one person. I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of them. Not one person. We encourage them to get some jobs on the weekends and make ends meet. Everybody's got bills to pay, and that's what they did. And I still believe, absolutely proud as can be that we did not lose one employee. I'm a big believer that in business, I'll say all successful businesses, the company doesn't get over on the employees and the employees don't get over on the company. It has to be a fine line. They have to be in the same boat. They have to have the same visions. When it's good times, they share in those good times. When it's bad times, they share in those bad times. And it's one team and one team only.
You can hear in the background the sound of the sewing machines, and I imagine that's a really sweet sound to you?
It's music, music to my ears. I do walk the floor on Saturdays and Sundays when sometimes I'll come in and do some office work, and I'll be honest with you, I don't like the quiet. We're not making gear when it's quiet. We're not paying the bills when it's quiet. So I love hearing the noise.
Definitely a sweet sound. Ken, thanks very much.
You're welcome, Shell.
Our social marketing guru, Naoma Doraguzzi, is back with ways business can boost sales and step up productivity.
Hi, this is Naoma Doraguzzi with AskNaoma.com, and today I have a customer relationship management tool. This one is called Zoho, and what I like about it is that it is free. So if you're a new business or starting out, you might want to start with this. That's going to help you with your productivity and your sales. Basically what it does, it's going to help you manage your contacts, not just manage them, but also with your follow-ups, with your sales productivity. It syncs great with your Gmail accounts, with your Google Calendar, your Google Tasks. Another thing about it is it's web-based, so you can access it from your iPad or from your phone or when you're out on the go. Again, start with Zoho, and I will have all this information online. You can tweet me your questions at Ask Naoma or find me online at AskNaoma.com.
That's all for this week's Hampton Roads Business Weekly. You can find the show on Facebook and Twitter at HR Business Weekly or at hrbusinessweekly.com.
For Hampton Roads Business Weekly, I'm Zach Miller.
And I'm Cheryl Tan. We'll see you next week.